Oh, yes. Here we go. Here's all the people.
Yep.
Phil, how you doing?
Good. It's a little cold. Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's why I'm using this portable heater.
Excellent. I look forward to this, David. I will mute myself.
Good to speak to you, though, Phil. And who else have we got? We've got Alex. Yeah, you just wave. We've got David there. He's just waving. We've got Anne. She's just waving. We've got Giles. Good to see you, Giles, both physically and virtually. Saw Giles in Richmond on Monday. Who else we got? Jeff Fairfield. Roger. Sheila Wallace out in Canada. But it's cooler out there than it is here. Liz, Oliver, Johan, waving, Pat O'Connor, Grant Foster out in Spain. Barbara, I can see the top of your head. Linda Weatherly. Deb there. Deb, give us a wave. Carmel, I think I was saying Lisa. Lisa as well there at the top. Well, top of my screen, anyway. War. Give us a wave. Some more people joining now. Who are we getting? Pam. Caroline Day.
I just want to show you David how hot it is in England. It's
Oh,
absolutely
today?
no, it's on live now. Yeah.
Sandra. Lydia. Tobiso. I pronounced it right this time, didn't I? Right. Yeah, it is very, very hot here. We were thinking that the heat wave was going to break and we were going to have thunderstorms whilst we were doing this. And then it let us down. So I'm using my air conditioning system. Just to give you a bit of history on this, this was given to me as a gift by Dolores Ashcroft Nowicki, head of the Servants of the Light, for my friend Andy, who's normally here actually every Wednesday down in Glastonbury, but he can't be with. He texted me he can't be with us because they've got no power until at least 9 o'clock tonight. So he can't be with us. We're watching the recording. But when it was his third degree initiation for the SOL, Servants of the Light, I was invited along, and I actually drove Dolores to his initiation, where he lived at the time, and this was a gift to me. This is a Eagle Feathers fan, and one of the things with symbolic magic is anything that symbolizes the air or whatever it will magnify it. So the thing with this fan here, if you can just see it there, it's not that big, but the amount of air that comes out of it is way beyond its size. It's like a real example of symbolic magic, which is one of the things that we teach in Huna. So that's why I'm kind of like cooling myself down a little bit, because it is very, 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 very hot. But I'll put it down now. I just wanted to show you that as well as use it. So welcome everybody. Session number 3, and auto suggestion. The whole idea of auto suggestion did actually predate Think and Grow Rich. It actually came from this guy here. This isn't a particularly great copy of the book, Emile Coué's My Method. If you ever do hypnosis training with me, then I mentioned this guy, Emile Coué, obviously French, and he was very, very interested in hypnosis in the 1800s. And the history of hypnosis really in the 1800s was pretty much in France, and was pretty much for healing. And Emile Coué was a pharmacist. And what he used to do was that when people came into his pharmacy for a prescription, he would make up the prescription, etc. But then he got interested in suggestion and hypnosis. And there was one day that a client came in, and he didn't have the prescription. So what he did was he gave them a bottle of colored water and said it was the prescription. And it had the same result as prescription. So then Emile Coué came up with the idea that in actual fact, you didn't need to induce hypnosis. You didn't need to induce trance. You could do it in a regular waking state by just telling somebody this is what this thing would have. So in a way, Emile Coué discovered the first placebo effect. And probably one of the things that's out in this book, which you'll have heard about, is every day, in every way, you're getting better and better. Is from Emile Coué and My Method. And he actually became quite a bit of a star, particularly in America. He toured America in the musical because hypnosis had disappeared at this point in time, thanks to Sigmund Freud, who said that hypnosis was useless and the unconscious mind was evil, dirty, and nasty, and that kind of stuff. So hypnosis disappeared, except in the musical. And so Emile Coué went out on stage in America and was traveling the States teaching My Method of autosuggestion. So that's what really we're talking about here in Think and Grow Rich, is autosuggestion. But then my question then is, okay, what's the differentiation between autosuggestion and self-hypnosis? None, really. But there's some things that actually, which, self-hypnosis, autosuggestion is where you give your unconscious mind instructions of what you want it to do. Probably a version of that came from autosuggestion, Emile Coué, was affirmations. And affirmations, where you're literally going to yourself, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, because you've got a limiting decision of I don't like myself. So you want to install a new one that you do like yourself. That's essentially not really going to work, because in my experience, when I first came across affirmations in 1990, then my unconscious mind kept going, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't. And I think eventually my unconscious mind gave in after saying this 50 times every morning, to the point where it went like, okay, you like yourself. At least I'll say that, at least if you leave me alone first thing in the morning and take that stupid smile off your face as you're smiling into the bathroom mirror. So I think these things now have been upgraded, have been updated, NLP, timeline therapy, but also, the latest thinking about hypnosis and self-hypnosis. So what I want to talk to you about really was how we can upgrade this. It's a fairly short chapter in Think and Grow Rich, but one of the shorter chapters out of the whole thing. So auto-suggestion is how you give your unconscious mind suggestions as to what you want your unconscious mind to work on. So there's a couple of things here. Napoleon Hill, in the book Think and Grow Rich, says that your unconscious mind only accepts suggestions which are emotionalized. And we talked last week about the formula of focus, energy, and time. I would probably actually update that idea in that your unconscious mind is eavesdropping on everything that you think and everything that you say about everybody and everything all the time. I'm going to repeat that again, because this is a pretty big one. Your unconscious mind is eavesdropping on everything you think and everything you say about everybody and everything all the time. I will agree with Napoleon Hill that if that thought about the thing, the person is emotionalized, or what we would say energized, then it will create it in your reality significantly quicker than something that's not really emotionalized. But let's just think about the repercussions of that. And those of you who've done trainings with me have probably heard this story before. I used to have offices in a training center in Chiswick, which is in West London, nice area of West London. And every Sunday I'd go for lunch at the same place whilst I was training. And I'd hear this car showing up. You'd hear it before it actually arrived, because it was very loud. It was a Lamborghini Gallardo, bright yellow. And it would pull up outside the restaurant, and nobody got out of this car at this point in time. And people would be flocking around this car going like, wow, what an amazing car. I'd love to have a car like that. And then the doors would open. They got the scissor doors, that you've got on the Lamborghini Gallardo. And the driver would get out, and he wasn't a day over 20. And I'd immediately see people's state change into, oh, bastard, how could he have a car like that at that age? And they go immediately from being in a positive state to being in a negative state. And actually, the negative state they were in was more intense than the positive state that they were in before. And they go off wandering down Chiswick High Road, chuntering away to themselves, saying about this owner of the car that he must have been born rich. May I suggest, if you weren't born rich, it's too late. Or that he was a drug dealer or whatever it may be. If your values don't allow you to be a drug dealer, then what you've just told your unconscious mind, because your unconscious mind is eavesdropping on all of this. If your unconscious mind just gets your values and beliefs to be a drug dealer, then what you've done is you've said to your unconscious mind, there's no way I can have a Lamborghini Gallardo if I'm not willing to be a drug dealer or I wasn't born rich. So don't bother giving your unconscious mind a goal or anything like that if you're going to be that way. So everything is an auto-suggestion. So what would you do in those kind of situations? Lamborghini Gallardo, gorgeous car, bright yellow. Then think the person up. You know, say to your unconscious mind, wow, what an amazing car. How amazing would it be to have a car like that? And if he can have a car like that when he's only 20 years old, how much easier would it be for me to have a car like that when I'm 59? Your unconscious mind takes that as a suggestion and goes like, okay, David, I'm going to start working on that for you. So, you know, whereas Napoleon Hill is talking about, you know, repeating 10, 20 times every morning, 10, 20 times every evening, the things that you want, admittedly emotionalized, you've got to be thinking about that all the time, because your unconscious mind takes everything that you think about everything and everybody as a suggestion upon which it acts. So, you know, including, very relevant for Think and Grow Rich, including money. So, you know, I remember doing this seminar with a friend of mine, Greg Secker, and it was one of our Date with Excellence programs. And I was doing a live modeling program with Greg. And I was listing his beliefs. And one of Greg's beliefs was 95% of life's problems can be solved by writing a check. The place just went crazy. There were people standing up going like, what about love? What about gratitude? What about blah, 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 blah. And I literally had to shut the crowd down and say, what about respecting other people's models of the world, since all these people were NLP, at least NLP practitioners. And then Greg, looking a little bit confused, said, I'm a bit confused now. I thought everybody here had come here today. It was about 400 people in the audience. Had come here today to learn how to become more rich and more wealthy. How many people came here to learn how to become more rich and wealthy? And everybody put their hands up. He said, well, here's the first hint or the first clue for you. If you want to become rich and wealthy, stop hating rich and wealthy people. Which ties completely into my perceptions projection program that we did before. When you point one finger out at somebody else, there's always three pointing back at you. So, you know, if you hate rich and wealthy people, you are not going to become rich and wealthy, because then you'd have to hate yourself. So these are some real things I think we need to think about around auto-suggestion. you were doing auto suggestion all day, every day, not just in those 10, 20 repetitions you're doing in the morning or in the afternoon. Admittedly, though, following the instructions, you would have emotionalized or energized those thoughts. So then the other thing I was thinking about today, because I read the chapter a couple of times before we do the live and make notes. You've also got the situation where you're being bombarded with suggestions all day, particularly if you watch the news or whatever. So how do we kind of inoculate our unconscious mind against those kind of things? So here's a way to do that. What you do is either find out by asking what your unconscious mind's name is, or if it doesn't currently have a name, give your unconscious mind a name. And then say to your unconscious mind, only take suggestions when you're addressed by name. This is quite in the study of magic and the occult, which a lot of you know that I'm a lot of you know I'm into. There was the thing around never give somebody your real true name. Your real true name is the name of your unconscious mind. Because in the old times of magic and occult and all those kind of things, it was like if you knew the true name of someone, i.e. the name of their unconscious mind, you wielded power over them. So, when you find out the name of your unconscious mind, or when you give your unconscious mind a name, then don't tell it to absolutely anybody. That's just between you, your unconscious mind, and your conscious mind. And then you say to your unconscious mind, only accept suggestions when you are greeted by name, or when you might be in a situation where you're doing a training, and you might say, okay, I really trust this trainer. I really trust this presenter. They are using a lot of hypnosis from stage like I do. And if this person is giving suggestions, accept them, and only suggestions which are useful and healthy and beneficial for us. That was one of my other thinkings on it. Then, if you're reading the book, what Napoleon Hill says is you're getting suggestions from your conscious mind and also from the ether. We talked about this last week, or infinite intelligence. That's your higher self, because your higher self lives in the spiritual body, and the spirit element is the ether. Whether we spell it, he spells it without an A, so not the Greek spelling, but it's the same thing. So whenever he talks about the ether, infinite intelligence, he's talking about the higher self. So your higher self does get suggestions. Sorry, your unconscious mind does get suggestions from your higher self, though more lightly from your conscious mind. So then what do we need to do to be able to do that most effectively with auto-suggestion, if we're going to update it, self-hypnosis, etc., is one, we'd want to be in a trance-like state. Then it's got to be, this is really a very important piece. It's got to be okay with your unconscious mind to do what it is that you say. Because if it's not, it won't do it. Because your conscious mind is in charge of your unconscious mind, but not in control of your unconscious mind. So what does that mean? Does your unconscious mind have to do what you tell it? No. Will it do what you tell it? Yes, as long as it's okay with your unconscious mind for it to do that. Which is why in many cases, affirmations don't work, because it's not okay with a person's unconscious mind to follow the instructions, to do what it's told for whatever reason. Big thing here is that a person's unconscious mind can and will make mistakes. The unconscious mind is not infallible. It doesn't make mistakes or do things deliberately to mess you up, but it will make what on the grander scheme would appear to be mistakes. Conscious mind can make mistakes. Unconscious mind can make mistakes. Only the higher self is perfect and never makes mistakes. But the higher self is in charge of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. It can't override or take control of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And then, following the instructions from Napoleon Hill, specific, this is what we covered in the first session on desire, very specific details, very specific date. Here's a reason for that. Recouping on the previous sessions, the unconscious mind lives in the world of mañana. Why do today what you could do tomorrow? So if you don't give your unconscious mind a specific date, it will never get round to it, because it's always got lots of things on. If you say to your unconscious mind, make me more money, well, that could be 5 pence that you find on the pavement as you're walking down the street. It did do what you said. It's not lazy, it's efficient. So, if you want £1 million by a particular date, you got to specifically say £1 million. But then specifically, is that including or excluding VAT or sales tax? Is it including or excluding corporation tax? Is it including or excluding personal income tax? Or are we talking about cash in the bank? You've got to remember, your unconscious mind's like a 5-year-old. If you were going to give your unconscious mind a shopping list, if you're going to give a 5-year-old a shopping list, how specific would you be? If you go like, here's what I used to tell this joke before. I used to say, here's £50, go and get some food. That's not going to go very far these days in the UK. It's probably more like now, here's £150, go get some food. And the 5-year-old's going to come back with crisps, chocolate, ice cream, and biscuits, or chips for those of you in the US. But you wouldn't be able to tell the 5-year-old off, because it did do what you asked. So that's the kind of thinking that your unconscious mind has. Then, more to do yet, is that your conscious mind needs to believe and trust in your unconscious mind. And once your conscious mind has told your unconscious mind what to do, let it get on with it in whatever way that it does. This is a really important thing, which is the second secret, which is faith. So your conscious mind has to have faith in your unconscious mind that it will actually get you what you've asked your unconscious mind for. So there's quite a bit there, really, even though auto-suggestion is, by looking through it, one of the shortest chapters. I think it's about 8 pages in the book. But there's a lot in there really to work on. So I'm going to open up the floor now to questions. And again, if we could do it the same way as we did before, if you put questions in the chat box, Sally will look at those questions and then say to you, okay, unmute your microphone and now ask David the question. Sally, do we have any questions?
Sally needs to unmute her mic. Hi, Nazir, can you ask David your question, please?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Hi, David. I just wanted to ask you, how do you actually find out the name of your unconscious mind?
Yeah, good question. You you ask it. So obviously you've got to be in rapport and communication with your unconscious mind. I had a bit of a shock, to be honest with you, when I discovered mine. I was doing a training, and the trainers were doing this guided meditation. And maybe I'll let me just make a note of this. Maybe I'll write this and record this meditation to put it onto c21nlp.com. And it was a classic guided meditation. You're out in nature, and you're walking through the jungle or the forest, and it's very nicely done. Very trancy, and then in the middle of the forest, middle of the jungle, you came across a pond or a lake, and then you looked at yourself in the pond or the lake, and here's a not a very well-known esoteric thing, but a silver mirror, like the mirrors we have around our house, reflect back to us our conscious mind. Whereas what's called a black mirror or a dark mirror reflects back our unconscious mind. I was just seeing if I got one of my dark mirrors here, if I could still see it. Yeah. So that's a dark mirror. So that's black glass. That's not really big enough, because really what you want is a black mirror that was so big it went outside of your peripheral vision. But equally, a still body of water, like a pond, acts as a black mirror and will reflect back to you your unconscious mind. So, where we used to do our Huna trainings out in Hawaii, in Kailua Kona, there was King David Kalakaua's bathing summer house and bathing pond, which people believe that King David Kalakaua, swam in the pond to cool down. But no, that's not what he did. It's a very, very big pond, but it's also very, very deep. So no matter what time of day it was, it looked black. And he used to use that as his magic mirror or scrying mirror or whatever it may be. So in this meditation, I'm looking at myself in the pond, and what I see coming back at me is a black panther with green eyes. And it took my breath away, to be honest. Because when I was growing up in the UK, the Black Panther did not have a positive connotation, because there was a serial murderer who called himself the Black Panther. So, you know, I'm going like, I'm the Black Panther. But there I am. So I wouldn't have guessed that was the animal. So your unconscious mind has a name and it has an animal as well. Let me just fill you in on that one. So my unconscious mind's a Black Panther. And then I overcame my shock and asked the Black Panther what its name was. And I got a name that came back, which was no name that I would have ever expected. And there is a relationship between Black Panther and the name that my unconscious mind gave. So I've checked it out afterwards. So it's a very undeniable experience. It wasn't the kind of animal that I would have expected or wanted. And the name wasn't anything that I was expecting either. Then I started to realize just how much like a Black Panther I am. I always wear black, particularly when I'm working and training. And the way that I sleep at night is just exactly the same way as a big black cat would do. And I actually also have a belief that animals see us as our unconscious mind. A Black Panther is more like a dog than a cat. And I think that dogs and cats and other animals see us as our unconscious mind. I have no proof of this. I'm not Dr. Dolittle. But they do kind of go like, ooh, when I show up. But essentially, you know, the answer to your question is just to ask your unconscious mind what its name is. And it could be male or female, by the way. And it could be a name in any language. The name of my unconscious mind is not in English. And then just check with it. Is that the name you want to be called by? It is possible that your unconscious mind doesn't have a name, in which case you could say, well, what name would you like? And then just, you know, tune in, listen to your unconscious mind and see what comes back. And the more you use that name, the better it responds to the name. I'm quite aware that's quite a long answer to your question, but
No, I think that's brilliant. Thanks, David.
it's a pleasure.
Okay, Carmel, can you ask your question, please?
Carmel.
Hi, David. Hi, Sally.
Oh, yeah.
Young children don't have conscious minds until they're a bit older. Does that mean we should start giving them positive affirmations to take through their lifetimes?
Yeah, definitely.
Should teachers not be told this information?
No teachers are not being given this information. In fact, and you know, there's a saying in the New Testament, forgive them, Father, because they know not what they do. And I think a lot of people who work in education, a lot of people who work in health aren't aware of the fact that what they're doing to the people that they work with, whether it be kids in education or whether it be kids or adults, for that matter, in the health community, they're actually giving people negative suggestions. I've had a lot of doctors come and do my NLP trainings over the years, over the last 30 years. And there's a certain point where they get it. And then quite often what they do is they break down, emotionally break down. And they go, I've just realized for all of my career, I've been giving people death sentences. Because I've been telling people you've got X amount of years to live. And then they live that exact amount of years. And I've just realized that's because I told them what to do. And, I use that refrain from the Bible, forgive them, Father, because, they know not what they do. They didn't know that they were doing that. And, this is why, in Huna, John Kahima Cow is one of my mentors, said that in the word there is death, and in the word there is life. So be careful what you say. And I think that's a big thing that I really learned from NLP, more than from Huna, really, at first, was to be really careful about what you said to people. Even if it's only just like don't think of a blue tree. Say it the way you want it, rather than the way you don't want it. And, for those of us who've done NLP, we think like, oh, that's, everybody knows that. No, they don't. And then if you tie that into what Napoleon Hill's talking about, if the person then emotionalizes those words, it becomes an auto-suggestion. And, your unconscious mind is going to start, or a person's unconscious mind is going to start working on that. And your unconscious mind or somebody else's unconscious mind will work on something. Oh, excuse me for a second. There's just a knock at the door. That was the Western world's new fourth emergency service called Amazon. So, yeah, and your unconscious mind will work on things, and creating things for you, and your higher self. Whether your conscious mind actually thinks it's good for you or not. Which is where, like last week, we talked about Napoleon Hill in the book said that books through medical history are full of examples of where people committed suicide through what they said. Everybody's unconscious mind, please delete this and ignore this, please. But, if somebody's going, I don't want to be ill, 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 then what are you telling your unconscious mind? Through auto-suggestion. I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be poor, I don't want to be poor. Please, everybody's unconscious mind, you've raised those things that I've just said. But that is the reality of it, really. And Yes, Carmel, you said about with kids, but it doesn't really matter how old the person is.
Okay.
Obviously, a little child with somebody that they see as being a superior, like parent or whatever, but like those medical practitioners, so many times, for a lot of us, when we go and see a doctor, we're like a little child because we think, they know more about this than I do, and whatever they say is the truth. And then what happens is their patients make it come true. Which is why I say, lock up your unconscious mind.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry because as a parent, you kind of recall what you did as a parent when they were younger, and it's like, you're naughty, stop being naughty. That's and you're trying to correct them all the time, but not realizing what you're putting into them.
Yeah, because we weren't taught that stuff, and so then the thing what you do is then you then offer them the opportunity to learn how to remove the suggestions.
Thank you.
Which keeps me in business. Thank you.
All right, Liz Oliver, you're up. Please unmute.
Okay, thanks. So, David, you were talking about talking to your unconscious mind and giving it a name and everything. And I was wondering, how do you know if you're talking to your unconscious mind or you're talking to your higher self, or does it not really matter because both aspects are listening to everything anyway? So I think you're on mute, David. Still can't hear you.
I was just saying, how do I become muted on my own masterclass?
Because you've got me managing it. Yay!
Yeah, that's the secret to the whole thing, is that Sally mutes me, which you'd like to do in real life, but you can't. It only works on Zoom. So the communication with your unconscious mind and the communication with your higher self are quite different. So your unconscious mind communicates with you quite literally. And will tend to communicate with you in what most people would call like an intuition, or a gut feeling or something like that. And it will answer your question quite literally. Your higher self tends to communicate with you more inspirationally. So let me give you an example of that. If I were to ask my unconscious mind, is it totally okay, dear unconscious mind, for me to heal up COVID as an example, which I had last year? It will go either yes or no. If it says no, then I've got to obviously do some work with my unconscious mind. If it says yes, then I'm going to go, okay, when can you start? Can you start right away? If it says no, then I'll go, can you start tomorrow? Can you start the day after? How long is it going to take? And it will give me very literal answers. Whereas your higher self, or what Napoleon Hill calls the infinite intelligence or the ether. I think that both of those are the same thing in my interpretation. Your higher self communicates with you via inspiration. So here's a couple of examples of this. So a lot of the composers, the great composers, I'm talking like Beethoven, Mozart, etc. Mozart as an example, and they were all members of esoteric or occult orders at the time. So they were very much into this, way before Think and Grow Rich came out. Mozart said that he got an entire opera or an entire concerto in one go. It was like it was downloaded to him. Boom. And it wasn't a matter of him composing it. It was a matter of him writing it down, as in writing it down in musical score. The thing here with difference in communication is that as far as your higher self is concerned, everything's perfect. And I used to get this a lot when I was doing Huna trainings out in Hawaii. People would always come up and go like, I've asked my higher self whether I should move to Hawaii, and it said yes. Your higher self will say yes to everything. So, if you said to your higher self, should I move to Ilford? It will say yes. Sorry if there's anybody here from Ilford. The better question with your higher self is to ask your higher self, would moving to Hawaii or Ilford be in alignment with my true spiritual purpose and destiny? Then it will give you a yes or no answer. But if you just say, should I move to Ilford? It'll just go like, yeah, why not? Perfect. Or, for me, should I move to Mansfield? Yeah, perfect. So a different style of communication, really, Liz. Did that answer your question?
It did, yeah, very interesting, thank you.
Good, thank you. Sally, any other questions?
Yeah, and Sandra, you're up because your question follows that nicely.
Okay, hi David. As soon as you asked or said, give it a name, give your unconscious mind a name. Straight before you ended the sentence, I had a name in my head, so I thought, oh, that's quick. So I trust that. But then you said the animal, and in my mind, I saw an animal running by. Though I am not sure if I can trust it. Is there any way that I can check that?
Yeah, ask your unconscious mind. Is that what animal you're?
Oh, it keeps running up and down.
There you go. Trust it.
Okay. Then, and then one more question that I just come up with right now, as you just gave the rest of the information. Does that mean that I can solve my own stomach ulcer before I go to the hospital to have it checked tomorrow?
Yes. Though Deepak Chopra says that it takes 5 days to replace the stomach lining.
Okay.
But what you need to ask your unconscious mind to do is to heal it up. Ask it whether it can start right away. I'm just making a note here. And in theory, it would take 5 days for your unconscious mind to replace the stomach lining. I've worked with a number of people with who've had ulcers, and all of them have healed them up in 5 days.
Well, at least then I know I get rid of it in 5 days.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
So, but you've got to tell your unconscious mind to do it.
Okay. Starting right now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I've had a number of people with stomach ulcers, and they did it in 5 days. I've had other people with other health problems where, in actual fact, they healed it up significantly quicker than Deepak Chopra would say was possible.
Oh. Well, let's see. If it happens sooner, I will tell you next week.
Very good.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Okay, and Carrie, your question is up.
Hi, David.
Hi, was that Carrie?
Yeah.
Hi, Carrie. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Just actually, my stomach lining has just cleared itself up as well.
Yay.
Very good.
Okay, so my question was to do with what you were talking about before you went deep into the conscious unconscious mind. It was about the emotionalizing your desires. Now, I did that before. I decided to become a singer, and it worked, so I know it works. But then when I started getting coaching and having coaches and mentors, that they all said to remove the emotion from your goals. So can you clarify that, please?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when you put the goal out there, it's important to put energy in with the goal. Like I think I talked last week about the Huna prayer, which is where you create a picture of what you want, you give it to your unconscious mind, you have your unconscious mind create energy, and then you give it to your higher self. That's the desire bit. Then the important piece is that once you've done that, you let it go.
Okay.
So let me explain that just for a second. So here's my cup of tea. Some of my students gave me this.
Awesome. They're right.
For this cup of tea to exist, it has to have a boundary around it. Yeah, which separates out this cup of tea from the rest of the universe. Does that make sense? So whenever you set a goal, you create a boundary.
Okay.
Or the cup of tea and everything that this cup of tea is not, which is obviously the entire universe minus the cup of tea. Yeah. So, there's you, Carrie, you have a boundary around you, which separates you, Carrie, from the rest of the universe. So there's Carrie, and then there's everything that Carrie is not.
Okay.
Which is the entire universe minus Carrie, right? Now, when you set a goal, you create a boundary, which separates the goal from the rest of the universe.
Right.
Now, we want to create this goal and emotionalize it or energize it, you know, as Napoleon Hill talks about, to put energy behind it for our higher self to create it. But then what happens with sometimes is that some people are so emotionally connected to this that they are not okay with not achieving it.
Okay.
As in, they'll go, if I don't achieve this, it'll be really bad. I'm really scared of not achieving this. Yeah. So if you got, I'm really not okay with not achieving it, where's your attention? Is it on the goal, or is it on everything that's not the goal?
Got you.
And you achieve, you know, what you achieve is what you put your attention on, what you focus on. So if the person's focusing around here, it would be really awful if I don't achieve my goal. Then what they do is they create something that's not the goal.
Got you.
So there's a bit of a paradox in that what you need to do is, yes, you emotionally charge the goal. Then when you set it, you let it go. The goals that you achieve will be the goals that you don't care whether you achieve them or not.
Interesting. Okay.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the way it works, because if you're not okay with not achieving it, your energy is going out here.
Yeah. Okay.
With negative emotions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So it's letting it go. And I was working with a client. I did a breakthrough session, and he was in a business with a business partner, and he basically wanted to get out of this business. But he went, I can't imagine how it's going to happen. And I said, okay, so you want out of the business, so you want to sell your share. And he goes, yeah. And I went, how much you want to sell it for? I can't remember what he said now. Let's say it was 200,000. And I said, and when do you want to get that 200,000? That's money in his pocket. Yeah. December 2022. Great, put it out in his future timeline. I met with him a couple of months ago, and he said, I can't believe, and I said to him, do you care, as long as it's legal and ethical, where that money comes from? And he said, no. I said, great. So let it go. I met with him a couple of months ago, and I said, how's things going? And he goes, well, I can't believe this, but I've had an offer of 180,000. These aren't his actual figures, but 180,000 from somewhere I can't even believe it came from. He said, what should I do? I said, take it. But he said, but I asked for 200. I said, mate, if you're within 90%, celebrate. And also, you are 10 months ahead of schedule. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
it's a pleasure. Sally, have we got any other questions?
We do. Roger, your question, please.
Hi, David. Oh, have I?
Yeah, you're on.
I can hear you, Roger. I'm just trying to see if I can see on the screen. Oh, no, I've got you now.
Oh, well, it's more luck than judgment, I'm afraid. But anyway, hi. Oh, I love that last question. That's great. The answer. I've never viewed it like that. That's doing my head in, but it's great. And I'm going to break the rules because I'm going to ask a completely different question to the one I asked, because that was answered beautifully already. Anyway, you know, my background is all business and project management, program management, and a big factor of that is planning. So I'm kind of geared up around that.
Yeah.
With combined with an AD mindset. So in that chapter in Think and Grow Rich, he comes dangerously close to pretty well saying what you've said all along. You energize the goal, but don't, whatever you do, wait to do detailed planning. He doesn't quite say, but he goes, by that time you'll have missed the boat and it's the wrong thing to do. You let the unconscious mind make it all happen. Exactly what you've said all along with set goals in timeline and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I still find it quite difficult to reconcile that with my upbringing on, if you did that in business, it wouldn't work. At least I can't see how it would work. And if, you know, the more you get into this stuff, the business stuff and the personal stuff is very, you know, converges. What's your opinion on planning generally, and how do you understand where I'm trying to get to here? What should you plan and what should you just leave to the unconscious mind to just get on with? And I suppose linked to that is, how does all this fit in with inspiration sent from the higher self?
Myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been absolutely waiting to say this, but I've got to say, Roger, what's your vector, Victor?
Clarence. Yeah, we've all watched it.
Yeah, but now, of course, I'm into amateur radio, so I'm saying Roger all the time, you know. Yeah, so here's the thing. So what's my take on planning? Worst thing you can do, around achieving your goal, and also to my experience is, when you do a plan, you actually sabotage your goal. So I think the paradoxical thing here is, and I've just written this down on my remarkable, is planning versus action. Action, massively important. I think Napoleon Hill actually says that. He in so many words, he says, you know, you set the goal and then you start taking action without having a plan. Whereas a lot of people go, okay, I've set this goal, now I'm going to start planning. And what they do is they plan with their conscious mind. So if we were to look at this, when you set a goal, your conscious mind's job is to answer the question, what specifically do I want and when? It's the unconscious mind's job to find the how. Your higher self, which is actually the mind that creates the result, doesn't actually care, which is why when you have these inspirational moments where you achieve a goal way quicker, way quicker than you'd even set it. You know, I've set goals where I thought, like, okay, realistic, 12 months, achieved it 2 weeks. And then you have these, and it's almost like I can imagine Mozart, sitting there and suddenly this whole opera goes like boom. And he went, where did that come from? I've had goals where I set a goal for 12 months, 2 weeks, boom. And I went, where did that come from? So I think this is very, very, very different than business thinking. Got this thing about, if you plan to fail, you fail to plan. I totally disagree with that. My background, as you know, Roger, is software engineering and electronics. And the team that I was working with in the late 80s created the first intelligent trader workstation, against all odds, to be honest. And we used to have a weekly software planning meeting, which we had to do. So we'd go and have this software planning meeting, though every single one of those software engineers in that meeting knew they had absolutely no intention of sticking to the plan at all. It was just something that we had to do. So we didn't stick to the plan. We did get out the Reuters Intelligent Workstation, or what became known as a Triarch Intelligent Workstation, on time for delivery, but it didn't fit with any plans. So, I have a lot of business people go like, well, you've got to have business plans. You've got to have business plans. And I go, yeah, you've got to have business plans, but you've got to realize the purpose of a business plan is to get somebody to lend you money. When you've successfully got them to lend you the money, put the business plan back into the drawer for the next time you want somebody to lend you money, because you've got no intention of following anyway. So that's my. I don't know if that actually helps, Roger, but
no, I'm loving it. I mean, it's if you're building a big, the next Eurofighter or something, that the way that would be done is that you'd have to plan your overall budgets and all the rest of it, agree it all with the military defence and Department of Defence, all the rest of it, whether you're in the UK or US, and then you'd have to plan the damn thing to death. I mean, that's how we would do it. If we went this route, and I'm loving it, by the way, absolutely loving it, what you'd do is you'd have budgets as such, but you'd say, effectively, this is what you've got to play with, and then you'd have a plan that was just literally milestones and dependencies between them, which would be in effect saying on your milestone, on your timeline, here's the end game. Now, when you say, now all the things that have to happen in between, allow them to all align themselves, and then detach from the plan. Detach from the attachment from the goal, which is what you said to the last.
Yeah, I mean,
question.
how many of these big projects like Eurofighters, like whatever, don't come in on budget and don't come in on time?
Every single one of them.
Every single one of them,
without exception.
And I wonder if it was like, okay, boys, let's just get on with it. Whether it actually come in under budget and under time. If you just go like, right, how do we make this happen? It was very interesting that, when I first got into software engineering, when I left university, I found my my degree thesis, which I wrote in 1984. And I hadn't seen it. I'd lost it. It was somewhere in the bookcase. And what I actually did was I created this thing called a natural language parser, known as NLP, because my project was in artificial intelligence. NLP, right, in 1984, before I even knew about neurolinguistic programming. And there was a project, avionics project, which was done by, I think it was either USAF or RAF. I can't remember which one it was now. And the software, and it was the project was built by aircraft engineers. And these software engineers came in and said, so what do you know, what's your software plan for debugging the software? And these aviation engineers went, what do you mean debugging? And they went, well, you know, like bugs in the software. And they went like, what's a bug? And these, you know, these aviation engineers, because you know, when you design an airplane, there are no bugs. It's got to fly and it's got to stay in the air. So they didn't understand the concept of bugs. So there were none in the software. So the software that they wrote worked first time and there are no bugs in it because they didn't know that bugs existed. So therefore there were none.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like an interesting thing, you know, what do we do? What's all the, what would be the word for it? You'd be better at this than me, Roger, but you know, all the fail safes, all of the contingency plans in the plan. So what do we do if this doesn't work out? What do we do if this doesn't work out? What do we do if this doesn't work out? There were none of that in that software program. That was the first, I think it was the first fly-by-wire aircraft. And because they didn't know that these things were allowed, there weren't any.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that now. I'm gonna have to find that now. That's gonna play on my mind. So I found out what that so yeah, it's I think that the thing is for me is that, you know, in the early days of this, the early days of engineering, the early days of business, people didn't know how. So this went, this is what I want, this is when I want to do it by. And they just got on with it. You know, a person who's been popping into my mind a lot whilst we've been discussing this is Elon Musk. Because he just goes, this is what I want, this is when.
Yeah.
Didn't have this. So therefore, no plans, just went for it.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Thanks so much for that. It's a bit painful. The reality is, I've been over 40 years in the business transformation business, only to realize that any success that I've had has been despite what I've been doing, not because of it. Now, so I'll just go off and find a window now. Thank you. Joking aside, that was great, David. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Any
Okay, Carrie, you're back up, honey. Ask your next question.
Thank you. This is a little bit off topic, but something I've been wanting to ask someone for a long time is that when you visualize, I used to always visualize through my own eyes. And in recent years, I now look at myself. What's the difference and does it matter?
Yeah, it does matter. So what you do before you give the picture to your unconscious mind, you want to make sure that you're seeing yourself in the picture, as in not looking through your own eyes.
Not looking through my own eyes. Okay.
Here's the reason why. Your unconscious mind can't tell the difference between something which is vividly imagined and something that's actually happened.
Okay.
So if you set a goal and you're what we call in NLP associated, looking through your own eyes, your unconscious mind might actually think it's already achieved it.
I see. Okay. Because when I decided I wanted to be a professional singer, I always saw myself on stage through my own eyes. But I wonder if that was because I had been a dancer before, so I'd already been on stage a lot.
So the thing with seeing something through your own eyes and then looking at yourself, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, yeah, we want to emotionalize this. And to emotionalize it, we'd have to be associated looking through our own eyes.
Yeah, for you.
Then we dissociate it, step out from it, so that our unconscious mind wants to get back in. The desire to get back in is called motivation.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. That's
Yeah,
very
so-
clear.
That's the important thing there. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Sally, we got any other questions?
We haven't. No.
We haven't. Whoa.
No.
You know, this was a short chapter and I thought we were going to be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah. You never do
Uh,
that.
And it's an hour and 25, but there we go. Yeah, great questions though. Loving it. Really good. So let me have a look. What is?
Hang on, David. Linda Weatherly had a question that I missed. So,
Linda.
Hi, David.
Hi,
Yes,
how you doing?
I've been sitting here answering my questions again. I've had, you'll probably realize or remember, I've had a lot of sort of intuitive situations in my life where I've seen things coming but couldn't actually put a form on it. The one I wanted to question, I think it fits in perfectly here, is there was, and I've done it twice. Once I was just saying, right, I want a new job move up in the media. And so I wrote the list of all the qualities I wanted, and it was on a Thursday. And ironically, or whatever, on the Sunday, and the bit that's interesting, fits in with everything you just told us, is I didn't put a form on it. I just said, I want to work for the best in the business. I want all these bits and pieces. They're all in the positive. And I want it local because I was sick of driving up to London from here. And it was only between Thursday and Sunday, I opened the Sunday Times and there was a half-page ad saying, we want an entrepreneur from the media to come in and do things differently, non-directory experience, because it was Thompson Directories. And everything on my list was there. And I would never in a month of Sundays have imagined working for Thompson Directories, albeit it's media, but not like my broadcast media that I'm used to.
Right.
And it was Farnborough, and I live in Bentley, Farnham. So we're talking 10 miles down the road. Is that something that I gave a really clear instruction without putting a form on it to my unconscious mind? And it did exactly what you've just been talking about. It went and found it locally. That was the bit I didn't know where to find it. And it came true and I ended up working for them.
Yeah, Linda, I would say that's exactly what we're talking about. Because, you know, if you just talk about looking for a job, you spec'd out your job, but you didn't spec out what specific company.
Yes, that's exactly what I didn't do, because there wasn't one locally as far as I was concerned.
Whereas a lot of people will go like, right, I want to get this job and I want to, and it's advertised, I want to get this job with Shell or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. And then they don't get the job with Shell.
Mm.
So as soon as you go like, I want the job with Shell, you're already setting yourself up for failure, because what if Shell doesn't have that position or they're not interested in you?
Yeah.
Whereas you went, right, I want this position, I want it to be media, I want it to be in this geographical location, I want it to be this position within an organization, the organization's like this is the package that I want.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Whatever. And then, you know, similar experience that I've had, it dropped out the sky.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I've been talking about this with a number of my private clients recently, in that, and they run their own businesses. And so what they've done is they've put in a pitch bid with a particular client for a particular amount of money. And then they've set that as a goal.
Yeah.
And then it hasn't come off. So then they start beating themselves up, or it hasn't come off yet. Let's put it that way. Then they start beating themselves up because they didn't achieve their goal.
Yes.
But really, the goal is the amount of money and when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the company.
Yes.
And, you know, and a couple of them got like, you know, I'm getting really frustrated about this because these people aren't getting back to me. I've got similar situations going on at the moment, performance partnership. And, but they're going, but we've had all this sort of other business come in, these other projects come in that we weren't expecting.
Yeah.
But they're still beating themselves up for the ones that they had planned.
Yeah.
You know, when you put a bid in, when you put a pitch in, you're either going to win it or you're not.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I said to all of them, I said, okay, so what's the real goal? The real goal is the amount of money that they want. I said, do you care where it comes from? They all of them went like, no. I said, well, stop fucking beating yourself up then. Because it's coming in anyway.
Yes. And the other piece of this is exactly what you said. Because I didn't think there was anywhere locally, I just did it and put it in a drawer. That's exactly what I did. And, you know, only 2 days later, or 3 days later, there it was. And I was flabbergasted because I thought, blimey, I never thought of that. I never thought I could work in one of the branches of media locally, because it just, as far as I was concerned, didn't exist. So I did the taking the form off it and letting it go, and it just arrived.
So when I say like taking the form off it, you've got to be specific about what it is you want and when.
Yes, I did that, and I think I put a date on it, something like hypothetical months.
Letting go of the form is how it appears.
Yes, yes.
And also, if it's within 80, 90%,
yeah,
celebrate.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted a black Porsche 911 turbo and it shows up in blue, then celebrate. If it's that important, get it wrapped or resprayed. But don't beat yourself about the head because it's blue rather than black, you know.
So I've done that twice, and I've had both the jobs, and they were both the ones that took me in a great new direction. That's how I went from radio into television as well. I did the same list, same kind of things, the values, what I wanted. And I never thought for 1 second it would turn up in the form of television. And I'd only gone to meet somebody who was there for an interview, and because he was running a motor show for me. I wasn't even looking for a job, but I would put in my list, my next thing I wanted had these values, and they were these type of people. And I ended up with the job.
This is exactly the thing that I think Napoleon Hill's talking about. Exactly the thing I've been talking about is that you let go of the how. You've got to take action.
Yes.
So you've got to be, if you're going for a job, you've got to be going out applying for jobs, because otherwise you're not going to get one.
Yeah.
You've got to be putting energy into it. But then you might be at a party on a Saturday night, bump into somebody you've never known before, and they say, "What do you do?" And you go, "This is what I do." And then they go, "Well, we're looking for somebody
That's pretty much how it happens. Yeah.
that does this." And it
Yeah.
happened at a party on a Saturday night. Didn't come directly from any of the actions that you were taking. And my total belief is that if you weren't taking the action, that what appears to be chance meeting at the party would not have happened.
What was the action apart from writing my list?
In your, well, opening the Sunday Times,
Yes, I could have bought another paper.
having a look at the
Yes.
job section.
Yes.
For me, it's taking the action that we do running a training business.
Yeah.
So we advertise now, that's a lot of that social media like this.
Yeah.
As an example. Then we're doing sales calls, we're doing delivery. And what happens on, quite a regular basis is something just drops out the sky, and it enables you to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah.
A bit like the one I talked about with PricewaterhouseCoopers in the late 90s. And we didn't achieve it in any relationship, linear, logical, conscious mind relationship to any of the actions we were taking.
Yeah.
But I believe if we just set the goal and put our feet up on the desk and waited for it to come in, I don't think it would have arrived.
In fact, looking at my background, I've got the Thames Television brochure up, one of the posters up there.
There you go.
So yeah, those two were incredible, and thank you, because that has given me the clarity. I suspected it was something around that, but that now gives me the clarity to know that's exactly what I did. So I will do it more.
Do it again.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know you can do it.
Yes, I've proved it.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
But then it's like what we talked about in the second session, faith.
Yes. Yes. Got it.
Yep. Brilliant. Thanks, Linda.
Great.
Okay, Barbara, do you want to ask your question, or have you got the answer based on that previous question?
There we go.
I can see you, Barbara. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You certainly seem to be doing all right, enjoying the heat. Yeah.
I've cooled down since I've started drinking tea. So there you go.
That's a good thing. I need to drink more. I mean, some of the questions that, that Carrie asked about visualizing, whatever the question, but what she wanted and so on. Now I'm in a position where what I need is quite a lot. I intend to move house, which obviously has a lot of money attached to it, to be nearer my family. But I've been told, having had talked to a number of brokers, that effectively I'm too old for the mortgages, and nobody will give me them. And I'm intending the houses to be businesses, if you like, as well. But effectively what I need is sort of 500,000 to 600,000 in order to fund the move. And nobody's going to give me the mortgages in that respect that I know of. I mean, I've been and will be talking to more brokers to, to find that. But is that still a feasible thing? No, visualize. I found the house. I know where I want to move to. So would it be a feasible thing to visualize the house maybe with me in front of it. And the funds that I need to actually achieve that.
Okay, so Barbara, the
Using my
house
unconscious mind. The house is there.
is the what?
Yes.
The when is when you want to be there.
The when is going to be October.
Right. So what you've got
I need the
trapped
funds
in,
before that.
what you've got trapped in is consciously working out the how.
Yeah.
You know, there's no broker that will, you've already told me,
Yeah.
there's no, the brokers have told me that nobody will give them the mortgage.
No.
That's conscious how.
Yeah. So do I lose the how and just
Yes.
concentrate on the what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would it be still appropriate to put out in the various appropriate sites, whatever, of which I am members, this story to see if there's anybody who might be able to help?
Yeah, because that's taking action.
That's taking the action. Yeah. Because I've, you know, the logical hows are just not working.
They very rarely do.
No. I'm just lucky that I've got the time. You know, when I found the house back in March, beginning of March, which was absolutely perfect and exactly what I wanted, I was under the impression that, yeah, we could go ahead, we could get mortgage, we could do this, that, next thing. I'd been told it would be possible. And then since, in the last 3 months or so, I've found it's not.
Well,
you'll have to find something else.
Yeah, or you haven't found the person who can swing it for you.
Yeah. I'm now still in conversation with various people, but and we'll continue that. But if I put out into the ether the what and the when, and hopefully the how will come.
Well, not hopefully.
Right. It will come. Okay.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
Cool. We have a question, David.
All right. Okay.
Could you say something about doing Ho'oponopono with a goal to release the attachment, please?
Okay. I'm just making a note of this.
Yeah.
It's giving me new ideas for new products for C21 NLP.
I know, love it.
I wouldn't necessarily do Ho'oponopono to release the attachment to a goal. I'd actually use Hakulau or peripheral vision. So my guess is that the person who's asking the question has got a goal where it's not okay for them not to achieve it. So the thing to do would be to get in touch with the emotional attachment of it not being okay to not achieve the goal. And when you're in touch with that emotion, go into peripheral vision or Hakulau, and keep doing that until the emotions disappeared. And so the goal is then emotionally flat, i.e., it's totally okay for you not to achieve it. When it becomes totally okay to not achieve it, going back to what we talked about. Yeah. So when you take a goal, which is a physical goal, and then you go into peripheral vision, what you do is you take the goal into the ether, which is what Napoleon Hill talks about, which actually makes it possible for you to spontaneously pull it out of the ether into the physical. Well, just play with this for a week. Not for anything big, but just say that you want to get a parking space. So the thing to do is to visualize where you want the parking space to be, go into peripheral vision, and then take a sharp breath in through your nose. So what you've done is you've seen the parking space, you've gone into peripheral vision, you've let it go, and then you go, and literally that will pull it into the Keave. Make sure you don't do it too soon because you might create a parking space for somebody else. It's only do about a minute before, otherwise you'll find there's parking spaces there that you created and somebody else has nicked it. But experiment with that for a week, see how you do. And therefore you're doing it with something which you don't have any attachment to. But doing those kind of things is how you get used to it. Yeah, that's a level 3 Huna technique, actually, which I haven't thought about for quite a while.
Yeah. Okay, Mavis, let's have you come on and ask your question.
Oh, hello. Yeah, hello, David. Yeah, this is super, bringing back memories. So,
Mavis,
yeah, from a long time ago.
Your voice?
Pardon?
I thought I recognised your voice. Mavis.
Yeah. So when the workers shout with banners near Downing Street, for instance, what do we want? We want 10%. When do we want it? Now. What would they need to do or say to get what they want? Would they have to do it privately to themselves or what? Because that would, the how. They're kind of doing it collectively, but their 10% would all amount to different amounts of money because they would be at different levels.
Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to say. 10% of what?
Yeah, exactly.
As they're unconscious. This is what I do with my private clients. When they're setting goals, I act like a 5-year-old, which I'm actually quite good at. And I play 5-year-old devil's advocate. What do we want? 10%. When do we want it? Now. Well, yeah, that pretty much goes against every single principle in goal setting. Other than that, I can't imagine why it's not working, really. Plus, also, they're probably energizing it with negative emotions, as in, how bad will they feel when they don't get it? And then it's collective energy put behind it, which just multiplies it. Actually multiplies the chances of them not getting it or getting something else. Because their unconscious mind's always in now. So setting a goal and going like, I want it now, is meaningless for their unconscious mind. 10% is meaningless for their unconscious mind. And also, you know, the thing around it is, I'm going to be a little bit, you know, contentious here for the first time in my life. Really, if you ask them, who cares if everybody else doesn't get it and you do? Probably they would say, no, I don't care. And is 10% what you really want? And my guess is the answer to that question is no.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's just something that sprung into my mind then, because they, you know, their timing is now, which will probably be impossible anyway, because they haven't given it time, I suppose. Maybe tomorrow might be better, but not right now.
Tomorrow never comes.
Yeah, exactly. A date.
Yeah, a date. And, you know, who on earth is going to get really, really emotionalized around 10%? It's not what they really want. You know, it's like I was doing a board break at Aston University, and Sally was there for the for the milk round for the third year students, and around goal setting, and you know, we did a board break because it's just like, you know, fun. And this guy says, Dr. Shepherd, are you aware of how many jobs there are available on the milk round this year? And I said, no, but I've got a funny feeling I'm going to find out. And he goes, 25,000 jobs. And then he goes, and how many students are applying for those jobs on the milk round? I said, I've got no idea, but I've got a funny feeling I'm going to find out. And he said 30,000. And I went, right, okay. So he said, so how can what you're talking about ever work? And I said to him, how many jobs do you want? He said, well, one. I said, right, well, focus on getting the one of the 25,000 that's available rather than the 5,000 that aren't. Because that's really what it's about. So here's an interesting one to leave you with, to think about. When you set goals for yourself, which all goal setting is it is a 100% selfish pursuit. With the example I've just talked about, it's getting one of the 25,000 jobs that is available rather than one of the 5,000 jobs that's not. And you don't care about the 5,000 people who are, you know, the one person or 5,000 people are focusing on the jobs that don't exist. That's their problem. You want one of the goals that does exist, one of the jobs that does exist. And if you've got guilt or you feel bad about being selfish in that way, about setting your goals, then you need to come and do my Fix My Mind seminar in September and let it go. Because when you achieve your goal, that is not at the loss of somebody else, except in your own mind. And your own mind is the only one you've got.
Yep, that's brilliant. Thank you. It's answered quite a lot of questions, actually. I mean, not that particular question, but it's helped me to understand a lot of other things, having asked that question. Yeah, good. Thanks, you.
David.
Thanks, David.
After all these years, thanks for coming back in and asking that question.
Yeah, always fascinated by what you've got to say. Might come back.
Me too. Because I never know what I'm going to say. Sally, are we
Yep.
are we done?
Yeah, we are.
This is the record, the shortest chapter in the book, longest session.
Question. Yeah.
An hour and 50 minutes to go through 10 pages, but there we go. We've probably broken the internet.
Not yet.
So I was going to say, next week is the fourth step, or the fourth secret towards riches, which is specialized knowledge. What could that mean? Well, we'll see you same time, same back channel. Once again, hopefully it's a little bit cooler than it is this week. And we'll see you here for the session 4 in the Think and Grow Rich Real World NLP and HUNA Masterclass. Any other questions, then please do put them in the group. Anybody that you think would benefit from this, please introduce them to the group. Anybody you think would benefit from it, ask them to sign up, because they'll get the recordings for 1, 2, and 3, and be able to sit in, obviously, on 4 and those beyond. We're a good 500, more than 500 people now in the group, which is great. But thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. Have a good day, wherever you may be.